both recognize achievements of certain individuals that have an exemplary career in the space industry. And we also support STEM education throughout the state of Florida. It's an organization that I've been a part of for many years and find very valuable. Speaking of the STEM education, one of the events we have today is our annual presentation of donation to Space Week. The chair of our Space Week committee, Adrian Lafitte, is going to come up and make the presentation to the Schools Foundation. Adrian? Want to welcome Adrian?
Thank you, Kevin. As you guys know, for the past 11 years, one of our biggest accomplishments as a space club is that we've been able to donate to the Brevard Space Week. That is the opportunity when we have every 6th grader in Brevard County to experience what we do, and in some cases what I have done in the past. And it's all due to your generous donation. I want to thank all the people that have donated for Brevard Space Week, and if you haven't, there's still time. 2 things that I do want to announce is we're going to have what we call the Sponsor Day. That will be on December 11th, and we'll send more details about that. Second, this year, besides having the normal, where we get the sponsors to go talk to the kids at the IMAX Theater, we also looking for, if you have some of those engineers that are dying to help and work hands-on with some of the kids, we're looking for volunteers during the trust section. The only requirement we have is the engineers that you send, make sure they don't get too over competitive and move the kids aside and say, hey, move out, I'm going to do the work for you. All we want is for them to help. So in any event, if I can ask Janice to come up. Janice Kershaw. On behalf of the National Space Club, it is my honor once again to present to the Brevard Space Foundation and Brevard Public School a check for $30,000 for the Brevard Space Week.
Thank you so much. As Adrian said, this program has been going on for many, many years. And I know we've all seen a lot of changes in the community and in the space industry, but one thing that this club has never lost sight of is that vision for space exploration into the future, and knowing that our future space explorers are the children who are in school today. And as you may or may not know, many of these kids, because we hear they write letters after Space Week, many of them have never ever even been to the Space Center. And this is their chance to really get familiar with what's in their own backyard, the history and the legacy of the work that you're doing. Your lifetime's work is in this check right here. And this program costs, it's about $100,000 a year. So to be able to take a check for $30,000 and put it towards this program is just amazing. We couldn't do it without you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Kevin. Well, it wouldn't be fun to launch rockets, send probes to other planets, and otherwise expand the frontiers of human knowledge without telling somebody what you do. Sure, you can post something on what you do on Twitter or Facebook for your friends and family to see, but to reach the masses, we still need the help of experienced journalists and professional communicators to tell our story. Today, we honor 2 of those who are the best with the Harry Kolcum News and Communications Award. The honor is named for a veteran editor of Aviation Week and Space Technology who spent many years back in the day covering launches and missions from KSC and Cape Canaveral. He was a mentor and a beloved friend to me and many others who worked in the trenches of the press site for what seems like a very long time ago. His contributions to the local space community extended well beyond the pages of the weekly magazine and included becoming a founding member of the National Space Club Florida Committee. A few years after his death in 1994, The Space Club added the Kolcum Award to its list of prestigious honors in order to recognize those deserving professionals who exemplify the very best of what Harry was all about. We're fortunate today to have some of the past Kolcum honorees with us again, and I'd like to recognize them. Please stand and give us a wave, or stand your choice when I call your name. And the rest of you, please hold your applause unless you have been bribed to do otherwise. First, from the KSC press site, Allie Lee. Former CNN space reporter, John Zarella. From the Air Force Space Museum, Emily Perry. KSC's Director of Communication and Public Engagement, Cheryl Hurst, who I'm shared winning the award in 2011. Formerly of the Orlando Sentinel and of Florida Today, John Glish, who once again I have to say sorry about your Packers this past weekend. Go Vikings. Formerly of United Space Alliance and Nazi. I have the microphone, John, so love it. Formerly of United Space Alliance and now with Vencor, Tracy Yates. Formerly with ATK and now with United Launch Alliance, Jessica Rye. Love for Jessica. How much did you pay him? From the KSC press site, the one and only George Diller. The Dean of Aerospace Reporting Today and now forevermore from CBS News, Bill Harwood. And finally, former KSC Director of Public Affairs, the original voice of shuttle launch control, the legendary Hugh Harris. Right there. Thanks to all of you for being here. Please give them a round of applause. But once again, we're so pleased to have Eddie Kolcum here with us today. Eddie, thank you for your continuing support of this annual luncheon in honor of your husband. The flowers here on the trophy table are here in your honor as always and are available for you to take home today or give away to somebody that you feel fortunate enough on the way. But thanks for being here. Okay, now with the honors. Let's start with Peter King. Peter King is a veteran broadcaster for CBS Radio News who has reported on NASA for 2 decades. And believe me when I say he is one of the best in the business. You may not recognize him if you were to walk by him in the store, but if you listen to the radio at all, I guarantee at some point you've heard his voice. In fact, I'm willing to bet that when Peter comes up here in a moment and starts talking, at least a few of you are going to say to yourselves, "Oh, yeah, I know that voice." I remember when Peter first arrived on the scene at the KSC press site and began drinking from the fire hose, trying to soak up all you need to know to be a reporter who actually understood what he was reporting on. You may not think so, but he caught on fast and quickly became one of the seasoned pros that others soon turned to for help. His reporting on the space program has always been compelling and concise, because you're lucky in radio if you get 30 seconds to explain the nuances of an 8-hour spacewalk. And I'll tell you one more thing about Peter. He's a great fan of Major League Baseball. He's just as much an expert of the sport as with space, if not more so. But as a professional journalist, despite the love of the game, Peter isn't afraid to call out the coach when a bad play is made. The same is true with his space reporting, because sometimes the news isn't good. When that happens, you can count on Peter to be fair and accurate, and in today's media landscape, that's an increasingly rare thing. So for his professionalism, skill, and dedication in telling the story of America's space program in the very best tradition of Harry Kolcum, the National Space Club Florida Committee is proud to present Peter King with the 2015 Harry Kolcum News and Communications Award. Peter.
Thank you.
Come up here.
Wow. Isn't this cool? This is, I'm very rarely at a loss for words, but when Jim called me a few weeks ago to tell me about this, I was absolutely stunned, because getting into this business, I mean, winning awards and that kind of recognition was never a reason for me to get into this business or start reporting or any of those things that Jim just talked about. I was a kid who had a passion for space as a kid and never dreamed that I'd wind up in this far-off mythical place that I used to see on TV called Cape Canaveral, or the Kennedy Space Center. And then I looked at the list of previous recipients, and they were all friends, colleagues, people I admire, people I respect, people I work side by side with. And the little kid in me still says, my God, what is my name doing here? I mean, I told Jack King 6 years ago, Jack, when I was a kid, I wanted to grow up and I wanted to be you. And there were any number of names that are on that list I could have said the same thing about. I want to thank, first of all, Bill Harwood and Todd Halverson, who nominated me, and I want to thank the committee for honoring me with this humbling and stunning honor, which it is. My CBS team of managers is not here, they're in New York, but without their support, I never would have gotten the amount of airtime that I've gotten over the past 20 years or so to be able to report on so many shuttle flights, other happenings that are space-related, good and bad, and without their support, none of this happens. I also want to thank my wife, Lisa, who is at the front table, because she is an excellent journalist in her own right and reminds me of what it takes to be excellent and try to be the best at what you do every day. And everyone in this room knows that you can't report on this stuff without having great support and help at home. And being married to somebody who's been there and done that and understands when you get calls at 3 in the morning or whatever, it says, you gotta do what you gotta do, you gotta make the donuts. That's extraordinary, so thank you. When I first, the learning curve for space is a very, very steep one. And when I first moved down here in 1993, my first shuttle encounter was when it was at the end of the first Hubble servicing mission, late 1993. And I was still unpacking boxes, but I said to a buddy in Daytona Beach, where I was living at the time, I said, hey, shuttle's landing Sunday night. Let's go down and see if we can see anything. So we got in the car, came down, parked across the river from the runway, saw the xenon lights, so we knew that we were in the right place. Heard the sonic booms, so we knew that we were in the right place. Looked north, south, east, west, up, down, thought we might see something. A few minutes later, we saw the lights on the runway go down, and that's how I learned that the shuttle does not have landing lights. The curve, the learning curve, as I just said, was very, very steep, and I need to say a very special thank you to my partner in crime, my colleague, my teacher, my mentor, and my friend, Bill Harwood, who has helped me learn more about this business and has helped me learn more about being able to report on this business in a clear, concise manner and do it well and tell the story in 30 seconds or less. Bill, thank you so much. As much as you'll deny it, I wouldn't be up here without your help. I have just one more quick story. I mentioned my wife, Lisa. She and I had been friends at CBS back in the 90s. We drifted apart when she moved on to the Associated Press and AP Radio. But in 2005, she came down to cover Return to Flight. And we were the only two reporters out at the Cape in the dead of night covering it because everybody else was in Houston. So we reconnected as friends and had no idea that 3 years later we'd wind up in a crazy but fun long-distance relationship that defied the odds through all the seasons and all the weather elements, and that 2 years after that we'd wind up together here in Florida and married. And we always said, if we could wind up together, all things are possible. So I leave you with this. Maybe we can land humans on Mars in our lifetime, and maybe a lot of the people in this room will still be around to report on it and talk about it. I sure hope so. Thank you again for an incredible honor, and this, I must say, is certainly one of the greatest days of my life. Thank you.
I told you about that voice of his. Our next honoree. Jim Lewis is president of Communications Concepts, Inc. of Cape Canaveral. And if there is a common theme with our two honorees today, it is certainly to underscore the importance of the work that's done behind the scenes by those whose faces you don't often see. And that is, of course, those people are so critical to sharing the space story with everybody else. Jim and his award-winning team at CCI have been doing that on the Space Coast for many, many years. In fact, Jim's local history with the space program stretches back to the final years of the Apollo program, when he reported on those missions for local radio here in Brevard. Since then, and along the way, Jim has led countless productions related to space that range from big-time history documentaries to providing live satellite coverage of launches from Cape Canaveral for the major aerospace companies. And throughout that time, all the while embracing new technology, often ahead of others, that would improve the quality of their product. His passion for spaceflight and commitment to the local space community has been evident throughout his career. Whether it was chairman of the local Tourist Development Council or as president of the Missile Space and Range Pioneers, Jim has been an important part of our space community for a long time. Added up through all the years, and it's fair to say that millions of people have been exposed to the space story thanks to Jim's efforts. Because he embodies the very best qualities of a professional communicator whose expertise, talent, and devotion is so important in helping sustain public interest in our space program. The National Space Club Florida Committee is proud to present Jim Lewis with the 2015 Harry Kolcum News and Communication Award. Come on up, Jim.
All right, I had to write all my stuff down, except for this. Jim, thank you very much. It's really an honor for me to be here because of my deep respect for the National Space Club, the people who have won this award in the past, and this wonderful industry, the space industry we have here on the Space Coast. This industry is a thing of great people. Look around the room and you're looking at great people. And if you think about the people that sat in those seats before you, it's really great people. And great people doing great things, historic things, generate great stories. And for me, a storyteller, this is a great opportunity. I have made, as I mentioned, big notes here today because one of the things I've learned about producing programs over the years is when you're crediting people, it's the ones you get their names not quite right or you leave off the credit list that you're going to hear from after your presentation. So here's my notes. Again, this has been a place of opportunity for me. Merritt Island, the Kennedy Space Center, and Cape Canaveral. It's a place I love. And I love space programs, whether that be the moon missions or the latest mission or the next mission. These missions are always interesting. They're full of tension, challenges, and ultimately success. And that's just what you need to write a book, produce a TV show, or produce a great movie. And so I thank each and every one of you for the things you do, because it really has made it possible for me to do the things I do. There are a few specific people I need to thank, and it starts with my mom and dad. My mom is here today. She's sitting right down front at our table. And my mom, primarily because she always listened to me, no matter how late at night it was or whatever, and she always embraced my wacky ideas. And my dad, who's not here today because he's in a nursing home right now, but he introduced me to many of his friends, and I was just a kid at that time. And he had a great group of friends. And specifically, I'd like to thank Jay Barbary, who is still with us, and Marty Caden and Dick Young. And both of those have passed on, but I met Dick when he was with the Orlando Sentinel working with my dad and before he went to the Space Center. And these guys really shared with me. They took me seriously and they inspired me. And while they probably didn't realize it, they really became my mentors for life. And I want to talk later a little bit more about the importance of inspiring young people, because you really can make a difference in a child's life. And these three guys really made a big difference in mine. As Jim mentioned, I did start a communications company here in the late 70s, Communications Concepts Inc., better known as CCI, and it's, we've been fortunate to, because of the platform that you all provide, become a leader in the digital media industry, especially for aerospace companies. Over the years, we've had a lot of great opportunities, and I've had a lot of different investors and board members in the company over the years, but one person who's been from the very beginning till he passed away and believed in me also was a guy named Rick Stotler. And I can't thank him enough for the help he gave me and the support he gave me, and I still miss him today. But the best piece of business advice I got, you never know it, but it came from a guy from NASA, Eddie Harrison, who many of you know. Eddie and I were having lunch one day at the old Fat Boys Barbecue on Merritt Island, and Eddie was telling me about Ronald Reagan's commercialization of Space Act, and he was saying, hey, this is going to present opportunities for your company, and I really embraced what he said, and it really is that bit of information and what was in that discussion that led to us producing TV coverage and materials for the commercial space industry as it blossomed here on the Space Coast. And it also allowed us to go on and do that same work around the world. And really, if you go back from the early RCA Harris KU satellites they built for NBC, to the very first commercial Delta launch with a BSB, British Space Broadcasting Satellite, to every new variant of the Atlas rocket family, I was fortunate to be hired to help tell that story. And I mean, it's just an amazing opportunity, and it made my job easy. Of course, you don't do this thing by yourself, and I've got a very good staff at Communications Concepts. There's a whole table of people here today, many of them are here today, and they really put up with me, because I have a bad habit of typically saying yes to things, especially if it comes from a client. I always say, well, yes, we could do that, and then basically we go back and we figure it out, and the staff at CCI has always risen to the occasion and really made things happen. We produce things, I think, bigger than our company could be, and I think we've got a lot of happy clients because of it. So I thank them as well. From those early launches at the Cape, we used to have to go to a place on the Cape side where we'd set up our trucks and our satellite trucks, production trucks, and stages. That was the old Press Site 1, and also at Hangar AE. If you haven't been to Hangar AE on the Cape side, you really should go sometime. The people there will tell you AE is the center of the universe, and they're probably right. And at AE, I met a guy named Charlie Thompson. I don't know if any of you knew Charlie Thompson, or know Charlie Thompson, but Charlie was much like Eddie Harrison and much like me. He really didn't say no to too many people. And so when we came in with all these new ideas of how to do launch broadcasts and things, he never said no. He always just had this one line. He said, well, what would it take to do that? And we sit there and figure it out, and I really think that we made major strides forward in the way rocket launch broadcasts were covered, and I really credit them to him and his good attitude and the attitude of people around him. I have to this time, of course, thank Hugh Harris and Lee Solid for helping nominate me for this award, but more so, I really thank it to you two guys, because you've had support for me my whole life, so thank you very much. I really appreciate that. There are many other people I probably should thank. There's a bunch of astronauts that we've worked with that have been very helpful to us. Several center directors have taken personal time with us. And of course, the people at the NASA Public Affairs Office over the years have just been phenomenal. And there's also other members of the news media who have really helped us, served as talents, done different things. Jim Banky, for example, you probably don't know this, and just a sidebar note, but he helped us produce our first website. So I'm very thankful to each and every one of you. And if I didn't mention your name, I'm no less thankful. Thank you very much for all your help. I'm also most thankful for our clients, because we do most of our work commercially. We have to get hired, and we've been very, very fortunate to have good clients that want good work, and that just generates the ability to produce a good product. And so I thank you for that. Occasionally, CCI does produce items on our own, productions on our own, and that's what we funded ourselves. One such production we did just recently, Robin Champagne and I produced a program for kids called America's Animal Astronaut Heroes. And I produced this program because I thought it would reach not only kids that like space, but also maybe kids that like animals. And the production's got tremendous reviews. It's been recommended by a lot of different organizations, including being recommended by the National Science Teachers Association. And Billy Speck, who's here with us today, hosts that program. I don't know if you know Billy. Billy, the former education director for the Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex, and now a bigwig up in Titusville. But Billy did a great job on that show. But my fear is that I don't think it's reaching enough young people, enough kids, the kids I wanted to reach, because they don't watch, they're less likely to watch long format programs today. So one commercial plug I'll have here is I am looking for sponsors who would like us to help convert this program to an iPad or Droid app. And if someone would like to do that, or if your company would like to do that, I'd be glad to talk with you, and I'd be glad to make sure you're properly credited and promoted in the course of that. One other commercial plug, a program that I consulted on is premiering on Discovery Networks tonight on their science channel. It's called Secrets Space Escapes. It's the first episode tonight at 10 o'clock on Discovery Science. In conclusion, I watched the Apollo 11 launch from the back seat of a big old Cadillac on the NASA Causeway with two of the band members from Lee Caron's Carnival Club. And it was on a car pass that my dad got me when he was with the Orlando Sentinel. And I often thought for many, many, many years that I was born too late. I missed my opportunity to be with the moon team, and I only was just a beginning observer. But over the years, I've kind of really come to realize that I've met many, many of those people and been able to help tell their stories. And I've also been able to show the world a lot of the new missions that are going now. And hopefully I've been able to inspire some of the next generation space pioneers to build even better spaceships. And to me, this has been a good life, and I'm very, very happy about it. And I really feel blessed. I thank you for this award. I thank you very, very much. Thank you.
Thank you all for being here. Now some final words from Kevin.
Thanks, Jim. I appreciate it. Appreciate the program and the awards. As we wrap up, what is this, the last luncheon event of 2015, I'd like to invite those of you who are not members of the Space Club to consider joining. Your modest dues are what allow us to make these types of awards and recognition, allows us to support Space Week and carry out these kinds of events. And as an added incentive, the dues are going up next year. So for December 31st, you'll pay the same amount that has been paid for the past 8 or 9 years, I believe. We also have a social coming up in December. I'd like to invite everyone to that. The details are on our website. So in closing, first I'd like to thank all of our corporate sponsors. I'd particularly like to thank Abacus for the audiovisual support and Bionetics for the photography. Let's see, lastly, our volunteers, Deb Anderson, Celine Bruns from Senator Altman's office, Stephanie Ebright from AECOM, Tina Leidy from Millennium Engineering and Integration, and Kathy Moore of Vincor. Don't forget to check out our website, follow us on Facebook, and everybody have a great afternoon. Thank you.